Start us off, Carter.
Welcome to our discussion of the NFL, the National Frightening League. We are so happy to spend an hour talking about all of your favorite teams, such as the Philadelphia Scream Goals and the Green Bay Packers. Scary Packers, yes. Listener, beware. You're in for a scare. But actually, it is Carter and Kevin Explain Football. Or Don't Sleep on Football. Carter here.
And I want to know how long it took you to think of that that bit.
What's annoying is I actually did have a second pun. I thought about it yesterday because I wanted to do something Halloweeny. What's sad is I actually did have a second pun, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. It was something growl. Oh, it was the Cleveland Growls. It's not a good pun, but it's a pun.
It's kind of a pun.
If you squint your eyes a little bit.
Anyway.
Yes, so welcome to October, everyone. Spooky season is well underway at time of recording. We actually have some cold weather for a change and some howling winds as the leaves begin to turn, and we continue on with this intrepid football season. A weird week in the NFL. We have as they always say, the 70 whatever, the 72, 79, I don't remember. Miami Dolphins can pop their champagne. There are no more undefeated teams in the NFL. We had some highs, we had some lows, we had some what the fucks, and a little bit of everything in between. Shall we start with the highlights?
We shall.
All right. First up,
some winners.
Yes, Tennessee and the Saints get their first win. The Tennessee Titans, and I see that you put this as your don't sleep on football game, so we'll probably elaborate a little more on it there. The Tennessee Titans won one of the more bewildering football games of the year, 22-21. They were basically down the entire game. Going into the third quarter, it was 21-6, and it felt like a classic sort of Tennessee no-show. The kind of performance that would lead your quarterback to describe you guys as ass.
Yeah.
And then truly one of the more bewildering little sequences in recent memory. So it starts with one of the running backs filling in for James Conner Beckham ends up running for DeMarcado running for 72 yards. It looks like he scores a touchdown, but we have yet another, guy dropped the ball right before the end zone, and now it's a touchback, leading to a Titans touchdown. The next drive, a truly insane sequence where it looks like the Cardinals have basically won the game. They've managed to force a fumble on the ensuing Titans drive, but they somehow managed to scoop up the ball in the end zone to get the touchdown anyway. And then they kicked the game-winning field goal on an 11-play, 71-yard drive. What can we even say about this game?
It was quite an interesting ending. It was like the team just all of a sudden was just like, hey, we're actually a football team. And that's kind of part of the reason why I put it as my don't sleep on game, because that fourth quarter showing up by Tennessee, insane.
Right, because it's not just, obviously you get a lot of luck with that weird. Again, I don't like it. The guy scored a touchdown. It should count. But you get luck on that. You get luck on this absolutely calamitous play where it looks like the Cardinals have basically won the game, but the ball rolls into the end zone and you manage to get it. A part of it's luck, but at the same time, it's but you also had 3 drives of 70+ yards. And maybe a part of that is the Cardinals took their foot off the gas. Maybe a part of that is you guys stepped up. But it is the first time where I'm oh, we're seeing competent football by the Tennessee
Yeah,
Titans.
it's also one of the things where it's like kind of going up. Where it's just like if you take up your like your foot off the gas, for example, you mentioned like you said that with the Cardinals, and it's like they didn't do much after the half and at all, and it was like, all right, you're up by like three score or two technically scores, I think. Math
Yes.
is hard for me, and it's just
Well,
like,
no, actually, wait. No, if you get a 2-point conversion, it would
yeah,
be 2 scores. Yes, you were right.
but it's like one of those things where it's just like, is that the threshold of like, should we lighten up and prep for next week? Because I think we talked about it a couple of times last year. Of it's like, what is that like when the Lions were dropping 50 like bombs on teams multiple weeks in a row. It's just like, what is this line of we're comfortably ahead versus we do not want like to just keep people in there and increase their odds of getting hurt.
You know, that's interesting because I feel like we almost have to take the Lions out of the equation because they're psychopaths. But,
Yeah, they are
like,
psychos.
right. I mean, I think reasonably, if you're going into the fourth quarter, well, it's interesting because it's like, it's in the grand scheme of things, 16 points is not that much in the NFL. That's literally people score 2 touchdowns per quarter all the time. It's actually pretty normal to do that. But at the same time, when you're going up against a team who has truly looked lifeless for 3 quarters, if not the entire season, I think you mentally do kind of start to check out a little bit where you're like, oh, this is a format. Like, you're not even really playing Tennessee at that point. You're playing the clock. And I'd argue that's kind of the biggest problem
Mm-hmm.
is they lost the battle against the clock because they couldn't get the ball back. They couldn't hold on to the ball when they had it. And, Tennessee got to dictate the entire terms of the quarter. You
Yeah.
had a chance to, you had a chance to dictate the terms and then you fumbled it away, which led to an absolute, like, in my stance, if you're up, I think you have to be at least up 18. You have to be up because that's truly foolproof in my mind
Mm-hmm.
of like, 14 or I guess 17 if you're logic getting it out of 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Because then I'm like, yeah, then the other team truly has no hope to get back. Even if they have like a quarter and a half, I feel like that's a lot to ask. But I would be remiss if we didn't also bring. Well, it's also so funny because Coach Callahan, who I've talked about, is like sneakily for me like just as much just as much a midseason fire candidate as McDaniels, as we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like he even in his like locker room and like post game speech, he kind of is like, well, sometimes weird things need to happen to get wins. Like he can't even fully credit the team because it's like
Yeah.
objectively, I guess we won.
And that's
It's
how we
it's
get Bill Belichick as a NFL coach again.
oh my god. I actually, Jesus, would he go? Well, he's got to
No.
go anywhere. It's almost a shame we don't talk about college football because this is an all-time hater season
Yeah.
between Arch Manning turning out to not be good and also Bill Belichick not just being a bad coach but creating like a absolutely toxic workplace culture. Um, but anyway, I would be remiss if we did not because it's probably one of the bigger stories from this week. Coach Gannon, the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, when DeMarcado came back to the sideline, kind of like physically accosting
Yeah,
him.
he like jumped him a little bit.
That's like I'm honestly surprised. I actually am like, should he be the first coach fired? Because it's like,
That's
he did end up getting fined, but like
yeah.
that's unacceptable. You can't act like that.
No.
Like if a player throws a punch on the field, they get suspended. Jalen Carter spit on a guy and got suspended,
Yeah.
at least for the
Oh,
game. But
yeah, that's a little bit of a I felt like politicky. Um
right,
that one. But yeah, no, this is a very interesting point of just like cuz I feel like football coaches and like as a whole from like high school on there's like this get up in your face attitude behind him, and obviously he like crossed the boundary like pretty clearly, but
mm-hmm.
also it's just like a is this like this isn't okay, but it's like how much in your face can you get with your players? And I think that's going to be the judgment line. And I'm not saying we've seen it this season a lot, but I think this season there's been a little bit more like coach and player like yapping at each other and stuff. Didn't like Trevor Lawrence clearly ignored his head coach.
Hmm.
Week 3, I think. I don't remember the exact week off the top of my head. We have
Oh, right, that
this.
the weird vibes with Liam Cohen, which I
Mm-hmm.
guess are paved over because again, I guess the Jacksonville Jaguars are the best
Yeah,
team in
they're
the NFL. I don't
secretly
know.
doing good. But there's that. There's Travis Kelsey getting into it with Andy Reid on the sideline during one of their games, and it's just like, what is these like? There's these weird freaking tensions on like a lot of teams, and I think this is going to be the catalyst of we're gonna set a firm marker, and I don't know how good of a marker it's going to be. It might be like it might not be until like next season, but it's going to be this game. Like this is going to be like the example, if that makes sense.
Hmm. I guess it's also weird because like we've often personified head coaches as like the leader. You know, they're the leader of men, but we've often personified them as like the leader of young men. Again, they're
Yeah,
coaching people. You take kids who are like 21 and you coach them up. But I also feel like we're in this age where head coaches are getting progressively younger because everyone wants that like wunderkind. They want that like
yeah,
young hot shot, which I guess nominally, I mean, Gannon's only 42, and it's weird to think there are people actively playing in the NFL who are older than him now. Sean McVay's only 39. Like, again, I'm pretty sure Matthew Stafford's older than him. And it is weird I guess that adds a weird element of like, you know, despite being in a position of superiority, like age wise, persona wise, it feels more like their peers compared to
yeah,
like what it would have been in the past. Like, I don't even think Bart Starr would like even Bart Starr, one of the more iconic quarterbacks of all time. It's like Lombardi, they aren't peers. Lombardi feels older than him. Well, he is
yes,
older than him.
yeah,
But like, yeah, but you get what I mean. Like, at no point am I like Marv Levy and Jim Kelly are on the same level. Hell, even just going back like 10 years, like thinking about the doldrums of the Bills time. Like, I'm not thinking about Dick Duran and JP Losman on the same level, you know? It's
yeah.
like one is clearly older, like more of a sage figure than the other, where it's like now I'm like, a lot of teams have kind of
Liam
like an
Cohen's
even
like a
playing field.
baby.
Hmm. And it's weird to think about that. It's like, does that change how we view this? Because if this was a college game, I'm like, that coach is just straight up getting fired. Like there's no way you go
Yeah,
forward with that. Like you can't grab an 18-year-old like that. What are you doing? But I guess that does add a weird element to it. Um, I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge also the Saints got their first win, and actually pretty impressive win against the New York Giants, 26
yeah.
to 14. A
The
little bit of a
Jackson
disappointment.
Darts, where they're kind of
Yes.
having more fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, this was not a good game from them. Like, kind of a bad turnover game. Like, defense looked a little inept, but I'm like, yeah, but it still feels better, you know? The vibes are still
Mm-hmm.
better. I gotta say, like, I think, like we talk about, like, there's so many new head coaches in the league. We always talk about, like, even when you're losing, what is a sign of a good coach? And, like, looking at Kellen Moore and what he's done with this Saints team, who's objectively like kind of outgunned
He,
and outmanned in like 90% of the games they're in,
yeah,
the level of competence and like just stability they seem to show in spite of being like what 1-4 at this point.
yeah,
Like,
they're 1-4.
right. I mean, I'd argue it's the same thing with Dan Campbell, where it's like, okay, you guys aren't winning, but that's because you don't have enough talent. Like, I don't doubt you guys will be capable of winning at some point once you get the talent.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's just like he's put on this team with absolutely nothing. He
They're
doesn't have
actively purging talent.
like that's really it. And then you have the like Ravens, which should be like a team that has the same exact record, but I would say
God,
the
that's
levels
yuck.
of players are two drastically different stats.
Hmm.
Like Alvin Kamara versus Derrick Henry. When Kamara was more prime, that was a matchup.
Hmm.
But I don't like you can't match Lamar with Rattler. Also, Zay Flowers is not on the same level as, um, like the Saints one receivers.
Like Olave
Shaheed
is,
and Olave are not
yeah.
on the same level as Zay Flowers.
I've kind of warmed up. Well, the
I'm
problem
not
with
saying,
Olave has never been talent-wise. It's
yeah,
always that he gets concussions.
yeah.
Um,
Olave's
but
not a
no,
bad
I
player,
get
but
what you're saying. It is
it's just
striking. Like,
they're on two different tiers.
yeah, it really isn't. Like, I think the Saints are a good lesson in like expectation and culture building and like sort of vibes, for lack of a better word. It's really hard to motivate 53 guys to actively put their body in harm's way 17 times a year at the bare minimum, on top of all the practices, on top of all the traveling, on top of not seeing your family. Like,
Yeah,
and as we're watching the Ravens kind of come undone because they're not matching those
they're
expectations and the vibes are putrid.
a
Whereas, like,
mess.
I feel like the Saints, despite being kind of like in pole position to get the number one overall pick, I'm like, they have already exceeded my expectations and then some. Like, they've basically been in damn near every football game they've been in this year, and like, see, at least have a clear path toward building something. And I
Hmm.
think that's what I want to see when I have a new, like, first time coach. Like, literally, the only game they weren't seriously competitive in was that Seahawks game where they kind of just got run off the field early. And I'm like, if the first test for this rebuild is Kellen Moore a capable NFL coach, or is he just a bridge coach? Because we always talk about like
Yeah,
bridge
first.
quarterbacks. We never really apply that logic to the head coaching spot.
Yeah,
And I would
yeah.
say we've passed
It's
that test.
yeah. I think he's doing a good job with what he has. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of how much further he can get.
One known insane stat that I discovered while researching,
Hmm.
Spencer Rattler, and I mentioned I was like, is he the best 0-10 quarterback in NFL history? But you want to know an even crazier stat? He
He's no
is the
longer 0 and
first.
10.
Well, yes, that's a pretty crazy stat given the pounds of data we have. But he is the first Saints quarterback drafted by the team to win a football game since 1999. And it really does hit you, right? Because Drew Brees was originally a San Diego Charger before
Oh
he got
yeah.
injured. Yeah, that was like, again, that was like one of the years I first really got into football, and it was an interesting. It was Sean Payton going to the Saints and Nick Saban for a single year in Miami. I'm not even 100% sure he finished the year, frankly. Um, and both teams basically got in a bidding war over Dante Culpepper and Drew Brees, two like sort of like higher upside quarterbacks with huge injury red flags. The Dolphins decided to go with Culpepper, who kind of just keeps getting hurt, and Drew Brees ends up winning a Super Bowl with the Saints. So it's literally been over 2 decades since a quarterback drafted by the New Orleans Saints got a win for the team.
That's
And what's wild is Drew
crazy.
Brees didn't get to the team till 2005. So there was a 6-year span where they were just cruising on free agent signings, I guess.
Yeah.
A weird stat, but a fascinating one. A highlight I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring up. Apparently, Rico Dowell is just the next Sean Payton,
Oh
or
my god.
Walter Payton. So
I I may or may not owe Joe the name of my firstborn child, due to the trade me and him had for it. Him.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Because I probably could have pulled off that trade. But yes, Rico Dowell, who's originally a Dallas Cowboy, he was drafted by the Dallas Cowboy. Kind of a, kind of an, one of those guys who like,
He was a
he was one
back
of those
burner.
guys who, yeah, he was one of those guys who was kind of a back burner, but one of those back burners, particularly when Tony Pollard was kind of like entering his lull phase. Like, and by lull, I mean like, oh, his, clearly the leg break is affecting him more than they want to admit. Kind of was like hey, why isn't this guy going to be the starter? He feels like he's got some pop, he's got some juice. Famously, very mad about getting moved off of by the Cowboys.
Yes.
He ends up filling in for the injured Chuba Hubbard. 23 carries, 206 yards, and a touchdown. And what's insane is his longest run was, and he had a 28 on the ground, so he had 230. His longest run was only 53 yards, which, in the context of, because like averages and total yards can kind of get inflated if you just have one big run, but it's like, okay, you take that away, and he still ran for over 150 yards. Um, and I'm going to be honest, I watched a huge chunk of this game because it was one of the, we've had a really bad habit with the NFL lately where the 4 o'clock spots have been kind of barren in
Yeah.
terms of like total games. So like you're getting a lot of this if you're watching Red Zone, and it felt like 206 yards. It just felt like every single run was guaranteed at least like 9 to 12.
Yeah, he was just hoofing it up and down the field the entire time.
Right. And like I know we're grading on a curve because it's the Dolphins defense, which has been like paper thin this entire year. But also like it is kind of insane that like this was a close game. Like the Dolphins went out to like a 10-point lead in the second quarter. Like they were pretty dominant for most of this and took the lead kind of late into the fourth quarter. And I think there's nothing scarier. There like there's nothing more emotionally devastating for a team than okay, they score a 46-yard touchdown with Waddle to take the lead with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The fact that the Panthers did not need to pass their way to victory, the fact that half of their plays on that drive could be runs, like you're so overpowered in the run game that you don't have to do you don't have to do a scramble drill.
Yeah.
You can just run the ball to win the game. Like I can't imagine the psychic damage that does to the other team, who's already in a bad place because they're 1-3 going into this game. But knowing like, oh, we're not even going to be able to force a turnover or get a sack or anything. They're literally just going to run it down our throats, and it doesn't matter because like we're going to lose this.
You know, that was just like an insane batch of crazy from him, from the Panthers, from the Dolphins, where it's just like they're looking like they have it back together again, and then they just lose it again. Like Waddle's making crazy, made a 46-yard touchdown. And then it's just like, all right, we should be firing, and then they make silly mistakes against the Panthers, who are just scrappy enough to come back from it.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is like for all our talk about Mike McDaniel getting fired, I'm like, at least weirdly the Dolphins look more competitive post Tyreek, despite the vibes being still bad, and like Tua giving really weird interviews despite the fact that he keeps throwing interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
But buddy, it's one thing for Josh Allen to get. I guess he didn't throw a pick this game, but like he actually was pretty good this game. But
Yeah.
like he's been really inconsistent all year, and it's like it's one thing for Josh Allen to get a little pissy on the sidelines or like during an interview when like he feels like the offense gets stuck in the mud because it's like he's not actively costing his team games. You're not there yet. Well, you might never be there. But like I'm willing to give McDaniel at least a little more leash just because it's like, hey man, at least your team is fighting now. Like you're not winning, but at least like you're putting up a decent fight. And what's funny from this game is I was fully prepared to include this in the highlights just based off Xavier Legette getting a touchdown. Like another guy, again, another classic Carter guy of like lanky, like sort of bulky dude, like another like, hey, we have AJ Brown at home guy who just hasn't put it together yet, much like Quinn Johnston. And I was going to full on be like, it's the Xavier Legette Bowl. He's back. And then I checked the actual box score, and I'm like, I'm sorry, how many yards does Rico have?
Yeah.
On to our next Stone Cold Stunner in Jacksonville. I don't know if that makes sense as a wrestling pun.
I mean, you're kind of there. I would give you credit for it because it is a stunner, and it is this crazy Jacksonville come from behind. They were down. Let's see. Actually, it was only 14-7 going to the half, so it wasn't even like a huge come from behind by them. But
right.
It was 14 unanswered points at first, and then third quarter they showed up, and then fourth quarter it was just a big old one after the other for Trevor Lawrence to make the most Three Stooges touchdown of all time.
If you've seen one highlight from this game, if not this entire week of NFL football, it was that. on the game-winning take-the-lead touchdown, Trevor Lawrence tries to get up, trips a second time, and then says "fuck it" and kind of like waddles in a way that he really looked. The camera angle made it look like he was waddling toward the end zone. He looked like the opposite of speed.
He looked like he was a stumbling drunk.
Right. It looked like, yeah, he had one too many drinks and he might need to change his pants. And he's trying to, well, his underwear's gone and he's trying to save the pants.
Yeah. And I think also,
and yeah, he scores a fucking touchdown.
And a very interesting thing that they everyone was pointing out during that whole hullabaloo, for lack of a better term, is you see Chris Jones, one of the best defensive linemen, or I would say he's still in the realm of being talked as the best, definitely the most paid, but he just kind of stands there for that. Like if you watch that highlight, you'll see him just up, like he just stands.
Yes. And to his mildest defense, I would have assumed he was down on the first trip or the second trip, or surely someone's going to tap. Like, it's not a play where I'm like, it's a play where I kind of understand turning the motor off just because you're like, surely this isn't going to turn into a touchdown.
Yeah,
and you know what it is?
I understand that, but it's also a matter of you play till the whistle.
I know. No rah rah, Bugs Bunny. You know what it is? I really do think this game. Why this game feels weird and why it feels like Jacksonville was so down despite the game being like close the entire time and like Kansas City having multiple leads. It just felt like a classic Kansas City Chiefs game. Like, you know, Lawrence throws a back-breaking interception when they're up by a touchdown. The Chiefs score in 2 plays and then score another touchdown with only a few minutes left with less than 2 minutes left in the game. You're like, oh, that's it. Like, this is a classic. Kansas City wins the close games because they psych you out. You know, they scheme up a lot of great defensive stuff. And, like, you know, the sort of black magic that team has had. You know, what did they go last year? I believe they went 10-1 in one-score games, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like one of those where you're like, even the fact that Jacksonville had an a 100-plus yard, or sorry, they counted it as 99 yards, interception return for a touchdown didn't matter. Like, Lawrence scoring that calamitous play felt like an aberration. It felt like it felt like he literally like pulled some black magic out of a hat to like reverse the fate of his team. And I'm just sitting here. I'm like, I'm not even 100% sure Kansas City deserved to lose that game. It was an all-timer for, like, it really is like the full Trevor Lawrence experience, because it's like, you see, like, you could cut, you know, a deceptive editor could cut 10 plays from that game to show that, like, Trevor Lawrence sucks. He's not what he's supposed to be. What a disappointment. He's not the promised prince. But then you could also cut, like, 10 plays where you're like, oh, I get why people believed in this. He's leading his team in rushing. He's, like, you know, throwing these beautiful passes across the yard. Like, an utterly fascinating game that I think captures the entire Jacksonville experience, and yet I don't believe their record for 1 minute.
Yeah.
I genuinely am like, are they? Remember when the Vikings were like 13-3 and then lost in the first round?
Yeah.
Or the other time the Vikings were 13-3 and lost in the first round?
It feels weird.
Really giving me those vibes. Shall we hop to our don't sleep on games?
We shall. I mean, as we said,
we covered one of them already.
Minus Tennessee, Arizona, done. Yours is also a very good pick and should definitely have earned a better time slot.
The game of the year at this time of year focused exclusively in Tampa Bay. Wait, let me double check.
Seattle.
Nope, it was in Seattle. Damn it. I forget which helmet they put first. The game of the year at this time of year localized exclusively in Seattle, Washington. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Seattle Seahawks 38-35, and it was exciting as that score suggests. It was another defenses need not apply sort of game. Let me just rattle off this for you. Field goal, touchdown, 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 touchdown. Well, actually, let me add the field goal, missed field goal, punt, fumble, touchdown, 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 touchdown. Entire quarter of touchdowns.
Yeah.
You sit your butt down at the end of the first half, and you literally get to see nothing but touchdowns. And then touchdown, punt, touchdown, interception, field goal. Like, I actually was devastated that this game effectively ended on a freak field goal where Sam Darnold, like, he tried to throw it away, he says, and it, like, bounced off a lineman's helmet into the arms of Levante David. And it's actually such a bummer because neither quarter... Yeah, just... Again, it's not just that, like, it would be one thing if he was, like, slinging around the yard and threw an interception, but that it ends on, like, this cartoonish interception when both quarterbacks have been kind of flawless the entire game. Baker Mayfield, 29 of 33 for 379 and 2 touchdowns. Darnold himself was 28 of 34 for 340 yards and a touchdown, or 4 touchdowns. And this is one of those times where I'm like, actually, you can kind of just look at the box score and understand what happened in this game, because, again, both of them were absolutely nail guns, just perfect precision the entire game. Honestly, truly one of the more entertaining games of football I've seen in a long time in terms of just like two guys probably having the game of their career and everyone getting to watch it. Like, again,
it was balling out versus balling out.
Yeah, Seattle might have lost, but I'm more than willing to put both of these teams at the Super Bowl table. Seattle, because it seems like their experiment to radically change the offense is paying off. Their defense looks great, this game notwithstanding. And Tampa, because in spite of all the injuries, again, they only just got their left tackle back. They lost another, I think they're down to their 4th string guard. Yeah. Both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to be out for a little bit. And yet they still look like one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, which is kind of nuts.
Right.
But they got Mbuka, who's firing on all cylinders. And Bucky, what's his face? I'm thinking of
Bucky Irving's been out. He was out for this game. Yeah, it is crazy. Like, in terms of competent roster building, it's like you lose your starting 2 wide receivers and you have this hot shot rookie and a bunch of guys who are also kind of good. And also your two running backs deep, like 6 wide receivers deep. And I guess your offensive line is like unlimited. You have an unlimited well of linemen.
Yeah. And if you look at next week, so week 6, you got San Francisco and Tampa, same records. They're both 4-1. And they both are just like 1 star with McCaffrey and Mayfield, and then just backups all over everywhere else.
Stars and scrubs. But also a very funny sequence. Jalen Milroe, the sort of the tantalizing quarterback pick of last year's draft, like 6'2", physical freak. Most of his, like, one of the better runners of the football at the quarterback position we've seen in a while, comes in for a single designed, like, read option play and fumbles. And I'm like, it's actually devastating that they made a point to make a package for this developmental rookie quarterback and he fumbles it. But hopefully he'll get more opportunities in the future. Well, we have a pretty obvious low here. Baltimore, what the fuck?
Oh, my God. An absolute slaughtering of them. Like,
yes,
it wasn't even like
a non-competitive game.
CJ Stroud looked fantastic. But like having Cooper rush in, and I don't know what else happened. The Texans' defense was just insane.
Like, there's so many ways we can unpack this.
Like, it wasn't funny, it wasn't cute. You felt bad for Baltimore.
Right? That's the thing. There is, like, sometimes when we get shocking results, there's some kind of, like, gameplay scheme or, like, some significant injury mid-game or something you can point to like,
here was the turning point.
Like, explain it away. Yeah, it's like, here's the weird thing that happened that explains why this happened. It's like, no, not really, because it's like...
It's been like this all season for them.
Right. The Ravens' defense wasn't looking that good when they were fully healthy, and now they're very injured. Like, I get Cooper Rush is a very different quarterback than Lamar Jackson, but at the same time, I'm like, it's still the same offensive line. It's still the same running back group. It's still the same wide receivers. You are not that much worse. And, again, it's like the the Texans' offensive line woes didn't magically get solved. They just looked better because Baltimore's defense is so inept. It is kind of like genuinely a shocking result. It's a get right game for Houston, but like in terms of talking about who we're like adding and removing from like the Super Bowl discussion, even when Lamar gets back at this point, I don't know how in good faith you put the Ravens in there.
Yeah.
Unless their defense overnight, like unless there's some secret lever they can pull to improve their defense, it kind of just feels over.
So currently 1-4. They have Rams next week, who has a solid defense, and then you got a little bit of this freeway of theoretically softball teams for them. The Bears, where they're kind of hit or miss, and then you have the Dolphins, which seem to be doing terrible. They have a strong defense with Cleveland later in the season. They play the Jets later in the season, Bengals twice, Steelers twice, which is, I feel like, a very distinct canceling out moment. But then they also have Packers and, based off of this week, a kind of competent looking Patriots.
We'll get there. You're going to have to cap me at 5 minutes for that one.
I don't think I'm going to even be able to give you 5 minutes. I think you're going to get 90 seconds.
Fair enough.
So it's like that. Like, I think I pointed out at least 3 more losses minimum. And when was the last time you saw a team that had 7 losses go? Okay, 10-7 is actually kind of believable for playoff picture, but like actually go deep into it when 4 of those games are against people their own division, and the AFC seems to be twisted and turned on its head this season of who's good and who's not.
Yes. Well, you made the prediction during this offseason that some of the sort of big dogs were going to get humbled a little bit. Yeah, and I don't know how you look at I don't know how you look at a 44-10 chain snatching at home against a team who has objectively looked bad for like 90% of the season and say, you know, you're not being humbled. I just want to get it on record too. There are do you want to guess how many teams have started 1-4 and made the playoffs?
Is the answer 1?
No, it is 6, but not much better. The 1970 Cincinnati Bengals, the 1992 San Diego Chargers, the 2002 Tennessee Titans, who ended up making the AFC title game. Okay. The 2011 Denver Broncos, who put Tim Tebow in and ended up going 8-8. The one playoff win they got. The 2015 Kansas City Chiefs, who won 10 straight games. And the 2018 Indianapolis Colts, who ended up winning a wild card game. So, like, the margins are getting really narrow here.
The margins are getting small. And, like, that door is kind of closing where I think if they lose one more, it's like you got to win out from there. I think the second they have like 6 losses, and especially if it's before like week 10 or 12, it's just like just start resting people and telling people it's like, yeah, get that surgery like to like truly repair things and not just take a little bit of time to rest.
Right. How in good faith can you talk to how in good faith can you tell injured players they have to come back like early?
Yeah, like if it was like if they like let's say it's week 15, they're at like 500. If they win out, they can make like a playoff spot, but they might not get they're probably not going to get their division unless if luck really goes in their favor. It's just like, all right, that's a situation where it's just like, I could see you just being like, hey, we need you back like ASAP. Take these stem cells or steroids or whatever it is they give them. But it's just, I think long term, I don't think they're a team that you can just be like, yeah, come back. You're gonna have to hit him with the Lamar, get that surgery on your leg because your knee doesn't work anymore or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. I really do think it is. Like, I think this is an important lesson between this and the Browning disaster in Cincinnati. And I didn't even bother listing that game.
It's not even worth it.
It's even more frustrating because Chase and Higgins kind of balled out against the Lions, and you're like, again, even above average quarterback play at least gets you within a field goal. But like, I do think it's a valuable lesson of like how fluky, decent backup quarter, because Cooper Rush looked okay for the Cowboys. Browning looked good the previous time he had to fill in for Joe Burrow. And it's like, it really is a testament to like having no expectations, not having film on you, and just being in the right place at the right time. It really does put a premium on like the Andy Daltons of the world, or even the Joe Flaccos of the world, who we'll get to, who are like just kind of capable of filling in for multiple teams and looking competent. Like, it really underrates like what distinguishes the career backup from like guys like Cooper Rush and Browning, evidently.
Yeah, the guy that is QB2 by default versus QB2.
Yeah, by obligation.
Like,
good way to put it.
I'm trying to think of a good example of it, and I don't really have one off the top of my head, but it's like having a QB2 where it's just like, all right, we have two very good receivers. I need a QB2 in case if the main dude gets hurt, that he can buy 2 to 3 seconds in the pocket and just throw a dart to one of these two people. And you don't always have that.
Right. Yes, I think it is a very and like I guess the answer for the Ravens is like, well, the plan is if number 8's hurt for more than a month, we're fucked, and why practice fucked? But not fun to watch, that's for sure. Another low light, the Kyren Williams disaster class on Thursday Night Football. Despite the plethora of injuries the San Francisco 49ers have, you know what's crazy? They only brought back 3 starters on the from the previous from the previous season on defense. They already lost one of them to a season-ending injury.
Yeah,
they're down to 2. And with Mac Jones at quarterback, they end up winning 26-23. Keep in mind the starting wide receivers. Yes, overtime win. Keep in mind the starting wide receivers this game for the 49ers were Kendrick Bourne, a sort of Patriots reject. Exactly. Jake Tonjes, who's been around for a bit, and DeMarcus Robinson. Truly a who's who of like, oh, they're still in the league. Poor Christian McCaffrey got 30 touches. And they somehow won this game due to a back-breaking. Well, it's hard to unpack because it's a little unacceptable you let Mac Jones score this many points against you. But it comes down to a final two like back-breaking plays. The Rams have it at the goal line. Kyren Williams tries to run it in, fumbles it, loses the ball. Which basically felt like it would have been the backbreaker touchdown at the end of the game. Instead, the Rams have to scramble to get a field goal to force overtime. And in overtime, the 49ers kick a field goal to take the lead. And on their final play, literally, again, at damn near the goal line, they decide, you know what, we're not going to go for the tie. We're going to go for the win. 4th and 1, they run the ball with Kyren again. I keep wanting to say Kyer. I'm thinking of a different player. Kyren Williams gets absolutely stuffed. A truly baffling call considering, again, Stafford has been slinging it all season and looked absolutely incredible in this game. Just a reminder of sometimes, you know, I guess it really is like the Madden thing of like, no, this isn't a Madden simulation where the expected result happens 99% of the time. Sometimes decent players make mistakes. Sometimes coaches make mistakes. And sometimes Mac Jones rolls back the clock to that brief moment where the Patriots were going to win the AFC East.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, is he Tom Brady Jr.?
Right. It is very funny. It is very funny that, like, you remember the whole hoopla when the 49ers traded up and ended up taking Trey Lance.
Yes.
The original thought was they really wanted Mac Jones, and it kind of seems like Shanahan got bullied out of it. Like, ESPN was like, I can't believe you traded all those assets to get Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's a pig in shit right now, validating. Mac Jones has played good in 2 games now. See, this is what I mean. Mac Jones is earning his status as like an actual backup
He's a
quarterback.
solid, yeah. He's
A
a
guy
perfect
who you
example.
get when you want to make sure your season isn't derailed.
Yeah.
Moving on. Everyone has a loss, but not everyone has a win.
Yep. We're
Did the Jets
looking
have a
at.
bye this week?
Nope.
Oh, God.
I literally wrote it right below. Yeah, no, they didn't. Who did they lose to this time? They lost to the Cowboys.
Right.
37-22.
And I assure you, I watched a lot of that game. It wasn't even that close.
No.
We really do. God, it really is a masterclass of garbage time scoring by Fields on that one.
I'm excited to see if they get their first win, who they get it against.
Right. Because it's one thing to lose to an 0-3 team. It's one thing to lose to an 0-4 team. But once you start getting any deeper, it really starts to reflect poorly.
Yeah, they have the Broncos, who still think Broncos are better. Panthers, who are kind of tearing it up a little bit with their stat lines, so who knows? Bengals, Browns, Patriots, Ravens. I mean, it might be the Ravens if people keep going at this rate.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dolphins, because they barely lost the first time, and I said last week they should have tied. That would have been funny as fuck. Yeah.
That would be very funny if they only get a tie this season.
But the Eagles and Bills, our teams before we even started this, and somehow ended up this way, are the final two to get their first loss. I'm going to go first because I know I can be very brief. I've already dealt with this, and then I'll put you on a timer in a second.
Yes, sir.
I'm on, what is it, 16 unanswered points or something like that the Eagles did not respond to in the fourth quarter. That's kind of a what the fuck. But the ending drive was a little sketchy with all those flags, and it's like, all right, Dallas Goedert is clearly pass interference. The dude is actively pulling him away from the ball in front of the ref, and it's not called. And it's moments like that where it's just this sucks. Because if the Eagles just outright lost, it's they lost against a pretty competent team, in my opinion. I've been sold a little bit on the Broncos for a while now, so it's all right, you lost to a competent team, tough week. Thank God you're not doing this whole winless or lossless season thing, because I feel like that is it's fun at first, but the second half of the season, it is 1 part cringe, 5 parts just anxiety of we're 13-0, we can't get our first L now, we have to win it all, we have to have a perfect season, crazy mentality. And yeah, no, it's just that last drive with some kind of shenanigans from the flag department, it just put a sour taste in my mouth for the game.
Right. It really was just the vibes are getting real weird here very fast. Even more by the standards of the Eagles team always kind of being weird. Honestly, one of my bigger takeaways is just I think you had to sit Lane down at the bare minimum. At some point, the diminishing returns of being injured, it's
he's getting boo-boos and pulled from quarters. I think 2 weeks running now, 2 or 3 weeks running now. I'm not saying he's weak enough to be out of the game, but it's dude, sit him. Just legitimately sit him for a week or two. You got Thursday night football next week, followed by a Monday night game. That is a miniature break in there. Just take that time and just use that. Sit these people, rest these people for an entire chunk of time and then get
Right.
them
It
in
is very
better working order before their week 9 bye. No, week 10, 8 or 10, or maybe 9. I thought that.
right. It is. Like I think honestly the lesson I learned from Baker Mayfield is sometimes you really do just have to sit when you're injured because no one will give you credit and you won't play well enough to justify it. Like it's very clear this team needs its offensive line at 100% to run the way it wants to, and it just can't right now.
I don't know why I talked myself out of there being no buys in week 9 halfway through the season.
It'd be kind of funny if they did that.
It would be funny, but I think it's actually week 12 with Thanksgiving is the one that has no buys. Like, is it 12? Yeah, there's always a weird. No, it's not week 12. There's always a weird middle of the season where we don't have any buys thing. Anyway, I will give you 90 seconds. Go.
Just honestly, it's just a classic version of this Bills team. It's just so predictable. It's like, the whole discourse around this team was, what if we make it so Josh Allen doesn't have to be a superhero every play? And it's like, why the fuck would you do? Why would you basically recreate the Tyrod Taylor offense? Because yeah, it was so predictable. The two things the Patriots can do: stop the run, and they have really good cornerbacks. So when we can't run the ball, we're just kind of stuck because none of our receivers can get reliably open, and we just get stuck in the mud. I don't even think the defense played that bad, to be perfectly honest. I think Drake May's just that good. But it's like, if the defense is only just okay and you don't have the offensive weapons to score 40 points a game, I'm happy that this game kind of woke a lot of people up to like, oh, are the Bills doomers right? And it's like, we've always been right. It's just now the stakes, we're running out of time to fix said mistakes. I've had enough time to mellow out about this game. Because again, it's the same shit I've said for like 3 straight seasons now. You shouldn't have traded Diggs. You just shouldn't have done it. Or if you're going to, you needed to make sure you traded up to get a wide receiver who had the potential to be as good as Diggs. The one silver lining to this season is, though, that Dalton Kincaid actually looks like the kind of tight end you use to justify not drafting wide receivers. Like, he actually looks like a Diet Kelsey. But other than that, I'm like, we've seen this song and dance before, and I don't think they want to change the tune. Anyway. How'd I do?
5, 4, 3, 2,
nice.
1. Yeah, no, you did in like 85.
Hell yeah.
Also, I looked it up. I was right, but I was wrong. I was right. There is no buys Thanksgiving week. I was wrong because it's technically week 13, not week 12, because week 12 is the Sunday and Monday before it. But yeah, so week 13, there's no buys.
That's weird. Do they always do that?
Yeah. It's always like Thanksgiving week. So they can make all the money.
Oh, right, because they want to cram all the
weekend and stuff. 3 games, and then a Friday game now, and then Sundays and Mondays. And I swear to God, if they have they don't have 2 Monday night games. I was going to be a little butthurt. I can't take it
anymore.
Speaking of bye weeks, for our notable notes, Pitt, Chicago, Green Bay, and Atlanta all on buys because we're in our first week of buys.
Oh, wow. It is frustrating that Green Bay has the bye just because I do feel like,
I think this is ideal for them. They're at this point where they're doing good. Like, they're having a hot start, but their most recent game was that 40-40, and then the one before that was the Browns lost by 3. So I think it's one of those, like, you had a hot start, get your heads on straight, and then...
Oh, right, we completely forgot. That should have been a low light. How the fuck did you lose to the Browns?
I mean, that was weeks ago. That was like week 3.
What? I thought that was this week.
No.
What did they do this week? Oh,
they had the bye.
Sorry, my
time.
Like
I just said.
I'm getting confused because I always think you put the buys for the next week. That's what's throwing me off.
I did that last year, and
That's what it is.
I realized it after.
I'm literally confused in the moment because I'm like,
after we stopped recording, that for last week's episode.
No, that was throwing me off because I'm
I
like, that
forgot
can't
to
be
put it
right. They had
in.
the bye this week.
Yeah, I
Okay.
forgot to put
No,
it in.
no, I
So
get the
that's why it's
system
a little
now.
weird. As you can see, if you look down on the notes for next week, it is back to normal.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes behind, or like
I get you.
delay for me going. It's like shit. Chicago Bears thereby 2-2. Eh, I don't. I think they're pretty on pace for how we kind of expected them to go. So I think it's just them kind of fine tuning some edges that they had. Um, Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers just wants to wander into the darkness, but they're already to like a solid start. So I don't see much coming from them. Like they don't have many needs just to be like, all right, let's just make sure we don't fuck this up. And the Atlanta Falcons, which is one of those we gotta figure things out right now, because if we continue at this rate, we may or may not be losing to the Panthers in just divisional ranking. And I feel like based off of like the previous years of Panthers and how they haven't really had like one or two like, this is a star-studded rookie that's gonna really change the game for us. It's like an insult if they start doing better than you. If you don't have like a complete collapse of a team.
Right. I do think Green Bay excites me because I do think traditionally we do see rookies step up a little bit post bye, and I would like to see them get Matthew Golden involved because we've seen flash like they were really trying in that Dallas game to get him open.
He's got glimpses. I think he's still like one of the top receivers of that draft as of right now. So I think, and the fact that they actually use a first round pick with him, I think it's a matter of when and not if they start hitting him to QB or wide receiver 2, if not 1 targets.
Yes. That in Chicago, I think the extra week to like continue to actually implement the offense, because again, there was so much talk during the offseason that they weren't fully implementing the offense yet, will be very helpful. But we're really just bearing the lead of what really matters. Joe Flacco is fucking backo.
Are you proud of that?
A little bit. Dylan Gabriel was fine for the Browns. Like, I don't know. He dinked and dunked. Again, he's like a B. He's a classic B- in everything, A and nothing, which is like the difference between a backup and a starting quarterback for me. But like, Flacco has been traded to Cincinnati Bengals. And here's the quiet thing. In the games he played for the Cleveland...
divisional or inter-team trade of all time.
Right. These teams actively hate each other, and they made this trade. And I think the quiet part that hasn't been said out loud is Joe Flacco's EPA per play was worse than Deshaun Watson's this season. But at the same time, it's like, it's funny because I'm like, is this move exclusively for fantasy and like gamblers? Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the only thing worse than losing a lot is being embarrassed. And at some point, as Jake Browning throws another 3 interceptions in a game, like, it's just embarrassing. He's not good enough to keep you from getting embarrassed. And it's like, will Flacco be...
This is the first it's week in fantasy that I've had Burrow, I have had Geno, I have Browning. I've had 4 different starting quarterbacks.
You didn't seriously play Browning, did you?
I played him in like week 3 because I'm like, all right, all he has to do is just throw it to Jamar Chase, and that's going to just be an easy like 15 points. And I was wrong. This is the first week I actually got a quarterback that scored more than 10 points in fantasy, and it's all thanks to you for trading me Jalen Hurts.
Well, I needed an actual starting running back, so I didn't know what else to do. But yeah, and the level of competency is kind of the thing, because it's like at the end of the day, Flacco is going to be able to run a rudimentary offense that prioritizes getting the ball to your playmakers. Will it lead to more wins? Probably not, if I'm being perfectly honest. But will it at least... Yes. Will it keep you from looking embarrassed? Will it keep your star players from like actively quitting on the season? Yes. And at this point, that's kind of the best you can hope for.
Yep.
Like, you couldn't justify paying Kirk Cousins that much. Jameis was more of like a fun idea than a practical idea, and it doesn't really solve the interception problem if we're being honest. You kind of just had to do it.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. We talked about it a little bit last week. Let's really hone it in. Who's our baby boys for this?
All right.
Are you thinking exclusively rookies like I am, or are you thinking of just in general?
I'm leaning more rookies because I feel like that's simpler. But like,
Yeah,
I'll just
I'm
rattle
thinking
off my.
exclusively rookies.
Yes. All right. Let's keep it to rookies then. So obvious one for me. I've talked about. You know what? I'm actually going to do two back to back because they kind of fit the same mold for me. Emeka Ibuka and
Ibuka's good.
Tedero McMillan. Two of my guys who I talked about the entire draft process have come in. Like Ted has had the volume, he just hasn't had the touchdowns yet. And the inconsistency of the Panthers has hurt him. And Buka has been handed a lot of chaos with the injuries and has looked kind of like one of the best wide receivers in the league the whole year. And I genuinely think it really is like much like LSU wide receivers. If you need a wide receiver, just figure out whatever you have to do to get the current Ohio State. Like if the worst Ohio State wide receiver that's come out recently is Chris Olave, who is just pretty good.
That's saying a lot.
That's not an indictment.
Yeah.
That's a compliment.
He's easily he's Saints wide receiver one, I believe.
Yes.
But he's easily wide receiver two.
A starting level wide receiver.
On all 32 teams.
Yes. I see you put Matthew Golden on.
Yes, I'm liking him. I'm a fan. He's one of those people that's just like, I like where he was picked and just the atmosphere of that. That's one of those things where it's just like, all right, I like this about you. I hope things can go further with you. Where you're also starting on a solid team. So you can either enhance them or just ride the bench.
Right.
And we already talked about he's probably going to be getting more snaps, so it's going to be a matter of how much he enhances them, I guess.
Right.
I forget.
I'm very partial to a Marion Hampton. He just runs through a motherfucker, and I respect that. Yeah. Those are kind of my big three.
I'm going to throw Dart on there.
Yeah, can we? I feel like we kind of have to just crowbar the we kind of just have to crowbar both of the Giants rookies into this. I feel like it'd be inappropriate not to.
Dart and Scat are there this weird, like, I think based off of these 2 weeks of playing, they might out frat boy Baker Mayfield. With this, like, if you told me that Jackson Dart was like the president of a frat, I'd believe you. And he's like, yeah, and then we got Scat over here, and you just look at Scat, and he's just eating a tin can, like, off to the side, and he's just
what?
Like, yeah, he's your guy. You need somebody to find something for you. He'll hook you up, and then he just approaches Scat just approaches you in the middle of the night, and he just drops you're just like, man, I could really use a drink right now, and he just brings in a soda fountain into your room and leaves in the middle of the night like it's a normal occurrence, and your roommate your roommate's like, that Dart guy's seems pretty chill, and then it's just like, yeah, but don't look at Scat, just trust me. And then he opens every door just using his head. The best thing I saw is a post that said CTE is afraid of Cam Scatterboo.
See, that Chuck Norris ass line does make me think of just imagine if he came into the NFL at the peak of internet meme culture.
Oh my god!
He would replace Chuck Norris. He would be his spiritual rival.
He still could be the spiritual successor as time goes on.
Memes are too esoteric now. It's too brain rotty. I don't think we could go back to such simple times.
I think we can
I
go
long
back
for
to
those
that.
days.
Alrighty.
That's idealism. My two quick homer picks that I won't force into the chat are Jackson Hawes, who the Bills drafted to be a blocking tight end and has already scored 2 touchdowns,
Mm-hmm.
and who he looks like a blockhead. Like if Cam Scatterbo didn't exist, people would be hyper fixating on this blockhead ass motherfucker way more. And Will Johnson, the quarterback for the Cardinals, he was the guy I thought the Bills were going to pick, and it's a classic Bills overthink a talented guy who fell to them thing. But anyway, shall we move on to next week?
Yeah, let's hit it up. London week 2. We got
Oh God, who is it this time?
Broncos Jets.
Ew.
It's a I don't want to say it's a crazy matchup, but a very winless team versus a team that has a solid defense and a decent offense. I'm not expecting much from this, if I'm being honest.
Sure ain't.
And then we have the byes for next week. That's right. We're back to normal pacing.
Thank God.
We got Minnesota.
Minnesota and Houston.
I think this is a good opportunity for Houston more than it is for Minnesota, because Houston, it's like they had this absolute slobber knocker defeat of the Ravens, and then a cheeky win over the I don't know why I said cheeky win. They gave the Titans a goose egg, and then it was a 7-point loss to the Jaguars the week before that, and a 1-point loss to the Buccaneers, and a 5-point loss to the Rams. So it's like they're seeming like they can't finish in the first 3 weeks. And now they're kind of hitting a stride where I think this is going to be, like, this break for them is a good opportunity for them to, like, fine-tune things, maybe pick up some secret people, and then you can start to hone in for Seahawks, 49ers, Broncos, like Bills, Chiefs, like all these, like, big go-getter teams. The Colts twice, because apparently they're secretly insane.
Yes. Oh God. Well, we'll talk about the Colts more next week.
They have enough data. They have enough data of what worked and what didn't work that I think they can really just mentally shape up and maybe work on their offensive line.
Right.
And then the Minnesota Vikings, which are 3-2, so they're kind of in like a similar position where they had the weird loss to the Falcons. That just felt really weird. And then they demolished the Bengals the following week. They had like a close loss to the Steelers. They clearly beat the Browns and Bears throughout the season. So I think that's another, like, all right, we know what we did. We know what's working. How do we want to adjust from here with Jefferson and Thielen and Mason and Addison?
Mm-hmm. And their big decision is, do they bring McCarthy back, or do they just kind of like shrug their shoulders and say, Wentz, like, it's another punt season?
I'm hoping they go with Wentz for the one when they play the Eagles, which is their Week 7 game. Just because I think it would be funny. But I think this is an opportunity for them to really figure that out, of what QB situation. And then maybe, who knows, maybe they do this weird trade thing that Browns-Bengals did.
Oh, God. Who could they possibly bring in? What if they brought Kirk back?
That would be the funniest answer, is Kirk.
Just fuck it. You know what? We shouldn't have left you, buddy.
I'm sorry, home. Baby. Come home. I miss you.
Why did we draft the 6th quarterback in a draft class?
Yeah, the family, they miss you.
Jesus.
The kids have been asking.
Oh, now it's sadder.
Kirk staring out a rainy window. Gave that life up a long time ago.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't know if it's a matter if he burnt bridges. Like, surely he just wants to play, right?
I don't know. We don't have time to
He's
talk
getting
about
paid,
my weird NFL fan fiction that I'm apparently gonna write now.
right? Plus, he's getting paid a lot of money to just relax, right?
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's it.
biggest game of the week. I'm not going to fight you on this one.
Kansas City versus Detroit. It's Sunday Night Football. It should have happened like in a Super Bowl at least once over the last 5 years with just the caliber both teams have been on
Mm-hmm.
and the tears. So that is definitely like that is big game feels.
You know, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that when Chris Berman throughout the entire late 90s would always fan cast the super, because you do your Super Bowl predictions
Yeah.
before before the season starts. And I think he did Bills 49ers back when it was like the Jim Kelly K-Gun offense, like that four-time
Yeah.
Super Bowl loser and the sort of peak sort of like all-time great what's the word? The all-time great 49ers team that won 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if like that's what this matchup feels like, where you're like, we're gonna keep wishing for this to happen because it feels like a
At
mistake of
least we're
history that it
getting it.
hasn't.
Yeah. At least we're getting it in the regular season. If it since it hasn't happened in postseason.
Hmm. Exactly. Your don't sleep on game fascinates me.
Jacksonville versus Seattle, where Jacksonville has this very interesting energy going on of hating their coach but not hating their coach, and they're kind of plucky. Both teams are very close in records. Jacksonville 4-1, Seattle 3-2.
Hmm.
Seattle's got a very similar energy of just like this is a completely different team. It's no longer Geno, JSN, and Cup. It's Darnold, JSN, and I don't even know who their other main receiver is. Oh no, not Cup. Cup was a Ram. Who was their other?
Well, it
Oh,
is
it
Cooper Cup
was
now.
Metcalf. It was Metcalf before
Yes,
Cup. No.
replace Lockett and Metcalf with NJS and Cup. Um, Yeah, I hate as someone who really liked Gino, I am almost a little annoyed how like well this has worked out for them, where they look like geniuses. Um, I think that's going to be a good pace setter game for both of the teams in terms of like which one of you is a serious competitor for the playoffs and which one of you is just going to have a good record when the season's over.
Yeah. I
My
think.
game is. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say no. This is I think a fun battle of teams that weren't on really on the radar or that are now on the radar. Your game,
Mhm.
I respect.
Carolina, Dallas, which for me is like if we're going to have another game that's like a high scoring extravaganza for this coming week, it would probably be this one. Both defenses have been pretty porous to the pass. Both passing offenses have been sneakily good. Once Bryce Young gets his customary dog water interception out of the way, he's actually looked very competent. Again, he's looked like what you wanted him to look like. Um, and I'm just kind of like I just want to see another high flying game. Like I'm too addicted to these like high scoring like pass for a billion yards games. I need more. Damn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now this is gonna. I think that's gonna be like a fun little thing. Maybe it's gonna be a Rico revenge game because
Oh
apparently
yes,
it's everyone's revenge against Dallas this season.
right. An underrated element to it is you are absolutely right. Rico Dow was formerly of the Cowboys and is very unhappy about how it turned out.
Yeah.
Um, shall we wrap up for the week?
Yeah. Send us home.
As I dig through my third bag of candy corn of the season, I hope you all are enjoying the start to your Halloween celebrations. Grab a cup of hot chocolate, grab a bag of candy corn, and you'd
Nobody
think I was
likes candy
sponsored by
corn.
them, um, and have a lovely week.
Nobody likes candy